Welcome to the Wire to Wire podcast. As always, it's me, your host Yusuf. Now, without further ado, let's just get right to it. So it has finally happened. JJ Redick said the quiet part out loud, and he called out LeBron. Now, I have done plenty of episodes in the past basically saying that LeBron James returning back to this team from his sciatica injury would disrupt the offense and cause a lot of problems for them. And it has come to pass. The Lakers do not look like the same team that they were to start off the season with LeBron now being in the lineup. When they started off, they were gelling. I recently read an article on ESPN discussing the friendship that Austin Reeves and Luka Doncic had developed. And they looked like a team that were clicking and firing on all cylinders. But ever since LeBron came back into the lineup, it has been stagnant. They don't look as engaged. They don't look as cohesive as a unit. And you can clearly see that the team structurally is falling apart. And it's all because of him. So for JJ Redick to say what he said, I found that to be very interesting. I'm going to play what JJ Redick had to say, and then I'll come back and I'll discuss.
Yeah, but we that was, priority number one for me. Role clarity. I think since we've gotten Braun back, we haven't been as organized offensively. Too many random possessions, so that's on me. So it's those three things. Defensive clarity, role clarity, and offensive organization.
All right, so you heard what he had to say. While I agree with what he's saying, I think that he still had to be somewhat politically correct, and he couldn't speak to the full extent that he wanted to. Now, a few days ago, he made some cryptic comments, and a lot of people thought that they were directed towards LeBron, and at the conclusion of that Houston Rockets game where they got blown out, he was visibly frustrated. Now, it's clear what the problem is when he talks about a lack of effort and guys having bad body language. It's clearly coming from LeBron. He looks disengaged. He does not look like he cares to be there. And all he cares about at this point is just accumulating stats and playing for numbers. He gives no effort on defense. Now, when you look at when he was away, the way the team was clicking and the way they were performing, it was fun to watch. You saw guys that enjoyed playing with each other, and they were playing winning basketball. They were second in the Western Conference. They slid down to the 5th seed, and they may even continue to tumble because the Minnesota Timberwolves are right there on their heels. So I think at this point what needs to happen is the Lakers and LeBron need to amicably find a way to break up from each other and go their separate ways. I think it's time for him to waive his no trade clause and for the Lakers to trade him. Now, they can either work collaboratively and try to find a new landing spot for LeBron with a team that's willing to pay him his remaining salary and absorb that contract, but also put him in a position to win if he actually cares about winning. But if he's going to continue to remain on the roster, then the Lakers need to have the courage, and it starts with JJ Redick, of making him come off the bench. Now, for now, maybe he can remain a starter because Austin Reeves is out for a month because of that calf injury that he suffered against the Houston Rockets. But when Austin Reeves does come back and LeBron does somehow remain on the team, then they need to have that honest conversation and say, LeBron, it's time for you to come off the bench. Keep Austin Reeves in the starting lineup. But it's so crazy to see how just in a span of 2 months, how much of the team has changed. When the season started and the Lakers were rolling, there were conversations about whether or not the Lakers are contenders. Now it looks like the season is in peril for them because of all the confusion and drama that's unfolding. It's obviously visibly disturbing the play of the team. And for me, the way I look at it is that it started when LeBron returned back from the sciatica injury. And then when Rich Paul went on that podcast with Max Kellerman and he said the foolish stuff that he said about Austin Reeves needing to come off the bench and the Lakers not being a contender. This guy is the agent and best friend of one of the players on their team that is making $52 million a year. So of course people are going to think anything that comes out of Rich Paul's mouth is directly being puppeted by LeBron. And rightfully so, people are going to come to that conclusion. And ever since he made those comments, things have started to go downhill. And like I said, the way the conversation changed, it went from the Lakers being possible contenders to now their whole season being in peril. They went from the 2nd seed down to the 5th seed, and there's a potential that they may even tumble more, especially with the absence of Austin Reeves. So I don't want to be pessimistic and say their whole season is cooked, because obviously there's still another 53 games to play, but they are at the brink of having their season put in jeopardy if things continue to trend the way that they are. Now, unless JJ Redick can somehow get through to a guy like LeBron that he needs to give effort on defense, that he needs to play for more than just his stats, and he needs to start getting engaged in the team, I don't see how this thing can turn around. So I'm very cautious about what's going to happen with this team. And this is unfortunate for a guy like Luka Doncic because he just signed that extension over the course of the offseason, and he's here for the next 3 seasons, and already this first season is looking like it's going to be tumultuous. And that's not fair to a guy like him. If he's going to lead this team, then he deserves to have a clean slate for him to be able to guide this team and mold the style of play to his method of playing basketball. And JJ Redick should have an opportunity to be able to coach a transcendent player like Luka Doncic and see where they can take this team. But unfortunately, it looks like the ego of LeBron and the cloud of LeBron is going to keep hovering over this team until the Lakers finally decide to do something about it. Now, to me, based on what JJ Redick said, I think he's being very politically correct. I think he knows what the issue is. Us in the independent media space that are not fanboys of LeBron, we know what the issue is, but it's a matter of having the courage for these guys in the organization to do something about it. So for now, if you're going to keep him in the starting lineup because Austin Reeves is out, then do that. But if it's not producing anything on the basketball court, then it's time to have that uncomfortable conversation with him that it's time for us to part ways, waive that no trade clause, and move on. And I believe that LeBron is now open to the idea of being traded. And the reason why I say that is because immediately following their loss against the Houston Rockets, I saw a couple of people who I believe are on LeBron and Clutch Sports payroll and fanboys of his saying it's time to trade LeBron. Now, those guys usually get their script from LeBron and Clutch. So I think that they got the memo. It's time to start pushing this narrative. And when I heard Kendrick Perkins go on ESPN and say it's time for the Lakers to trade LeBron, that to me confirmed my suspicions. So I think they need to have that uncomfortable conversation and start exploring trade options. But LeBron needs to be open to waiving that no trade clause. Make the move, get him out of LA. Let's get Austin Reeves back healthy. And then we can see what Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves are capable of doing as the season progresses. But if they're going to stay stagnant and they're going to keep things the way that they are, then, like I said, I don't want to be pessimistic, but I do believe that their season is on the brink of jeopardy. But that's all I got for you guys today. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and share it with your people. You guys can also follow me and the podcast on social media. We're on Instagram and TikTok, and I'm very active on there. You guys can also check out my books. All of the links will be in the description. Until next time.